It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show.
Rap it down, rap it down, rap it down. Beat on, rap it down, rap it down, rap it down. Beat on native five straight genocide. Get a bean pie, you won't pee. See homicide, that's inside. I'm on crease side with my P. I've been penalized so many times, my nigga died in them streets. Learned to bend aside, had to improvise. I set aside my grit. Still the same young nigga with a goal. Ariel got paid for the pole. Campaign on the block with a pole. White tee nigga fuck them clothes. White man can't stop my growth. Jump man came at my soul. 10 deep at the Chinese store. Chopper scene like Daniel Jones. Tryna break my old habit. Step up financial status. Pull the place in Miami. See the view from my vantage. Niggas taking advantage. Let her came with the sandwich. Let her play with my family. Let it bang from the camera. I'm still haunted by them souls in the river. Even in the dead of winter when it's cold. Never shiver. We could take it to the stage. I'ma stand up solid. Both hands in my pocket. Oh, send me that deposit. Yeah. Rap it down. Rap it down. Rap it down. Beat on. Rap it down. Rap it down. Rap it down. Beat on. Rap it down. Rap it down. Rap it down. Beat on. Rap it down. Rap it down. Rap it down. Got that money showing up. She get down to the wire. Got me like in my fire. We gon' take this shit higher, nigga. What? Rap it down. Rap it down. Rap it down. Beat on. Rap it down. Rap it down. Rap it down. Beat.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody is doing well out there this evening. In this video, we're going to be getting into JT. All right, so she's got a new song out called Grrrls Gone Wild, which was released on Friday. She had been leading up to it for about a week or so. Actually, really, she played it back in August on stage, if I'm not mistaken. So she had kind of already gave people a sample of the record. She had been building up to it for the last couple of weeks. She had put out a strange preview video of the music video a couple weeks ago. It was like a weird car crash type of thing. And to be honest, the video is just as strange. It's definitely on some, like, I guess you could say pop art type of thing. I guess that's the closest parallel that I could draw to it from what I saw in the music video. But it's out, and I've been seeing mixed reviews about this record, right? On one hand, I see people hyping it up. I see pages that are posting it and asking people, you know, hey, how y'all feel about this? I see stats coming out. I seen something about the record hitting the top of the rap charts on iTunes. So clearly there's people out there that are buying it. But then I also see people out there that are saying the record is trash. They don't like it. And there's also a little bit of controversy about the authenticity of the streams that JT has been getting on Spotify. We're going to get into all of those things in this video. I'm also going to give my assessment of, you know, the record overall. And in other news, we're going to get into Lil Uzi Vert, who, of course, JT is dating. There is a lawsuit out there on him currently from a former assistant who's suing him alongside Roc Nation. And she's put out claims of workplace abuse, sexual harassment, negligence, refusal to pay overtime, all type of different things of that nature. So we're going to get into that as well in this video. But first, we're going to start with JT. So the first thing I noticed about this Grrrls Gone Wild song from JT is I feel like she's pulling from Jeezy again. You know what I'm saying? Now, last year, when she put out City Cinderella, she put out Okay, and it had a very Jeezy sound to it. A lot of people said, yo, this sounds like a Jeezy record. You need to get Jeezy on the remix. And lo and behold, she did. She was able to get Jeezy on the remix, and it was piped up. You know what I mean? I still feel like Okay was a good record from JT. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I enjoyed it. It actually made me tune in to the City Cinderella project, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have. You get what I'm saying? But now with this new record, Grrrls Gone Wild, I hear Jeezy's I Love It. You know, the da 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 da. So I'm like, all right. I know Cardi pulled, you know, from some Jeezy on her project, and love to Jeezy, you know, with everybody pulling influence and inspiration from what it is that he's doing. That's great, for him. I'm sure he's loving having interpolations and sample clearances coming his way, lining his pockets. But for somebody like a JT, I don't think it's a smart move, just in my personal assessment. People are free to agree or disagree. That you did your lead single off your last project with a Jeezy feel, with a Jeezy remix, and then you come in and pull from Jeezy again. It's a tired formula, but this time you do it for a more club EDM Miami bass type of mashup, which again, for the demographic that JT, I guess, is trying to aim for, because again, this is like some pop art. This is like a song that could be played at raves or festivals and stuff like that. I kind of get where she's going with it, but just as a hip hop fan, I'm not in love with the record. I got to be totally honest, especially at a time like now where people are, trying to draw lines of demarcation about what's hip hop, what isn't hip hop, what hip hop is going to look like, where hip hop is going. It's not really a good reflection of things to come. So I also think timing plays a role in these things, right? For me, optically, I'm not a fan of the video, but I don't think the video was made for me necessarily. I don't think the song was made for me necessarily. The lyrics are very rudimentary, not something I'm gonna find myself playing. But I do like the hints of the Miami bass in there. As somebody who grew up listening to Miami bass and Atlanta bass music, I understand that sound. I get that, and she's from Miami, and she pays tribute to her city in the music that she makes. So I have no issue with it. It's just not my cup of tea. You get what I'm saying? And they try to, people have tried to make JT out to be this lyricist, but time and time again, she takes the easy route by not actually writing lyrics that are worth your while. You know what I mean? Like, so there's that. You try to come out and claim that you're a better rapper than Cardi B, but then you're not really rapping. So where's that? And that's also another side of the coin, is you came out and you antagonized Cardi, you antagonized her sister, you said she was a flop, you say nobody's listening to her album, but then you drop a song, and because it may not have been doing the absolute best that it possibly could have, she turns around and deactivates her Twitter page. I found that to be weird. Like, why you going ghost? Why you got a song out? This should be your opportunity to be promoting. You dropped diss records on Cardi B and didn't stand on them, deleted them off of streaming platforms, and didn't do official releases. Now you have an official release out and you get deleted. So something seems to be, I don't know what's going on with JT. I don't know what is the motive behind her actions, or what's driving her to make these decisions. But optically, it doesn't look good. And I know some people are gonna try to lump me in as downing JT because I fuck with Cardi B, but just because two artists are feuding, I don't have to pick a side. You know what I mean? I want to be as neutral as possible. But of course, natural bias does exist. But I ain't never said that JT was a straight up whack rapper. If she drops a whack song, I'm gonna say it though, just like I would for anybody else. Everybody got songs I don't like. So, be that as it may, this one wasn't for me. But I find the social media antics and the disappearance and, not standing on your record in either case to be strange. Especially when you come out and you try to play like this mean girl. I think she even calls herself a mean girl in the song. But then you can't take feedback on your song while it's out. You got to go ghost. I think that's strange. But again, if she comes out with a better song, she comes out with a project next year and it ends up bumping, I'm going to play it and I'm going to say it, So there's that. Now, again, there was some discrepancies about the nature of JT's streams on this Girls Gone Wild record. Initially, chart data came out and said JT's Girls Gone Wild earned 221,000 streams in its first full day of release on Spotify. This was the first post that went out. And shortly thereafter, this post was taken down and it was reposted with nearly 100,000 streams less than what was reported. Okay, so then you get this post here that says JT's Girls Gone Wild earned 139,000 streams in its first full day of release on Spotify. So that's like a 80,000 stream difference. Now, of course, if you're not paying attention to streaming numbers and stuff like that, it's not really going to matter, but it does feel strange that in the first week of reporting, you get two separate reports in a very short period. Okay? And I wonder what triggered them to fix that post. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know if there's botting going on over there or if it was just an error on chart data's part. I cannot say, therefore I cannot, allege that JT is doing anything nefarious with the music. But again, although it may not be streaming well on Spotify, there are people on iTunes that are going out and buying the record to support JT. And again, I've seen some people that love it. Love or hate the record, this is what comes up when you click on JT's page. This account doesn't exist. Okay? Now, how long she's going to keep the page deactivated, I don't know. Hopefully she comes back, at least for the benefit of her music and her releases as an artist. Even if she doesn't want to get on social media and go back and forth with people or, perhaps call people broke when they get under her skin, we'll have to see. You know what I mean? But hopefully she'll come back for the sake of her career. Now, in other news, we got to get into Lil Uzi Vert. Ironically, and I'm not trying to use this as a gotcha, but the optics, once again, don't seem to play out all that well. I got to be honest. Lil Uzi Vert has been hit with sexual harassment claims. Now, if y'all can remember, when Cardi's album came out and she was going back and forth with Cardi and Hennessy, she was actually trying to use Stefon Diggs as a gotcha because of the allegations of homeboy Chris Blake Griffin, who claimed that Stefon was trying to get in his jeans. You know what I mean? So she did this whole spectacle online and was doing this whole justice for gay men and all this type of stuff. But now her boyfriend, Uzi Vert, has been hit with these allegations in a new lawsuit. Before we get into the lawsuit, if you have legal issues, let's get into that. There's a reason rappers can turn any story into a hit track. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm with over 1,000 attorneys and more than 100 offices nationwide. If you've been seriously injured in an accident, your case could be worth millions. But the truth is, a lot of people either don't file at all or get taken advantage of by insurance companies. When you hire Morgan & Morgan, it's like hiring a legal army that has your back. If you're injured because of someone else's negligence, you deserve to be paid. No shortcuts, no lowball offers. In fact, they've secured some major verdicts in the past. For example, in Florida, they got a victim who was in a life-altering car crash, $12 million, 34 times the highest insurance offer. They got another victim in Philadelphia, $26 million, 40 times the highest insurance offer. Not all law firms are created equal. Morgan & Morgan is the biggest for a reason. They will fight for the biggest award possible and have won a lot. So if you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless you win. That's right, no upfront costs. They only get paid if you get paid. You can start your claim now by clicking the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on screen from your phone's camera. Again, if you find yourself injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Don't say I never told you nothing, man. So here we have Lil Uzi's lawsuit, all right? This was filed in the Superior Court in the state of California, county of Los Angeles. All right. So we've got a Jane Doe She is allegedly Lil Uzi Vert's former assistant, and she is suing once again Rock Nation, Lil Uzi Vert, and Doe's 1 through 10, who I am not personally familiar with at this time. But as you can see here, the complaint says number one, workplace sexual harassment prohibited under California's Fair Housing and Employment Act. Two, failure to pay overtime compensation. Three, failure to properly reimburse business expenses. Four, violation of California Labor Code 970. And five, constructive discharge. Okay, she has a demand for a jury trial. This isn't a very long lawsuit, which I'm happy for. So let's get into what we have, okay? And pardon document Ting's watermark here, but you know, folks got to promote. So it says plaintiff Jane Doe as and for her complaint against defendants Rock Nation LLC, Samir Beisel Woods, DBA Lil Uzi Vert and Uzi Vert LLC, collectively herein defendants alleges as follows. When plaintiff Doe was first offered the opportunity to work as defendant Wood's assistant in February of 2022, she knew that sleepless nights and long hours would be a part of the job. So be it. Okay? So she started working for him in February of 2022. Now, some of y'all may know who the assistant is. For me, I'm not aware. Therefore, she will continue to be Jane Doe. I'm not trying to dox nobody. Two, what she did not contemplate and could not have contemplated was the quick escalation of the job from intense and demanding to downright hostile and inappropriate. Three, supported by his management team, defendant Woods for 2 years. Okay, so she worked with him until 2024, last year. Hounded plaintiff Doe during her employment as his artist management coordinator with unwelcome sexual demands and advances such as the following. Okay, so these are 4 quotes allegedly from Lil Uzi Vert. Hey, I sent you something on Vanish. Now, I don't know what sending something on Vanish necessarily is. Maybe it could be something on Snapchat, maybe something in a close friend's IG story, or perhaps a Instagram message, because you can make your Instagram messages vanish. So that could be that as well. You know, if you want to send a message, or I guess perhaps a video, the way he's saying it. Who knows? B, come rub me down before you leave. Okay, so it escalated from I sent you something that I want you to see to an explicit request for her to rub him down, allegedly. C, I'm by myself right now. Send me something. So here is an outright request, and typically send me something would be asking for sexual video, photo, or something along those lines. D, let me see that booty. Okay, so these are alleged quotes from Lil Uzi Vert that were sent to this young lady while working for him. Ironically, defendant Woods himself summed up precisely how unlawful his perception and treatment of plaintiff Doe were when he wrote her. This is another quote. You are more than my assistant. You are my bitch, he allegedly stated to her. That's crazy. That's crazy work. Plaintiff Doe could endure no more of defendant Woods' unlawful behavior. His constructive discharge of her coincided with her suffering severe emotional distress and prolonged physical illness. After years of loyally serving defendant plaintiff Doe now brings this action to seek a measure of justice and closure for defendant Woods' years-long pattern of employment law violations, abuse, and harassment. Now, what Rock Nation's involvement is with this, I cannot see. But I guess I guess she's gonna say that they're being negligent and that they turned a blind eye to this type of behavior. But I mean, if he did it to you, I don't see how they would be held liable. You weren't a Rock Nation employee; you were his assistant. So it would be on him. But that's just how I view it. I'm not a legal professional, but that's just my opinion. We'll go past the parties because we know who these parties are. jurisdiction and venue. This is in Los Angeles County. We don't need to be hung up on that. Now, general allegations. Plaintiff Doe first met defendant Woods during her last week as assistant to the VIP sales manager at the Balenciaga store in Los Angeles, California. So prior to becoming Lil Uzi Vert's assistant, she was an assistant to the VIP sales manager at Balenciaga. VIP sales manager, so I'm guessing that's for celebrities and things of that nature. Impressed by her service and professionalism, defendant Woods offered plaintiff Doe a job as his assistant. Now, what would make him believe that she was qualified to become an entertainment assistant when she was just assisting someone in high-end retail? I don't know, but they say he was moved by her service and professionalism. On June 2nd, 2022, defendant Woods' manager, Amina Diop, contacted plaintiff Doe, to get her information and set a salary of $50,000. Plaintiff Doe will be paid through Uzi Vert LLC, a limited liability corporation run by Miss Diop. Again, where Rock Nation becomes liable, I don't see. But she was being paid through his LLC. 2022, plaintiff Doe is hired as defendant Woods' assistant. So he hired her for $50,000 a year. On June 20th, 2022, plaintiff Doe was sent defendant Woods' tour schedule for the 2022 music festival season. For the first 10 days of her employment, plaintiff Doe worked at defendant Woods' home in Los Angeles, tending to his 2 dogs and running basic errands around the house. Okay. All right, so he had her doing, simple tasks in the beginning, tending to the dogs, running basic errands, and he was preparing for festival season, which was coming up at the time. From her first week of employment onwards, plaintiff Doe was expected to be available by phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Oh, no. She was expected to respond to text messages or phone calls immediately, and when she failed to do so, she was bullied in group chats by members of defendant Woods' management team. Okay, so that may be where Rock Nation comes in, because he is managed by Rock Nation. So she says she was bullied by the management team, allegedly. Now, what entails bullying, I can't say. All right, but I'm sure they were probably wondering why she wasn't responding if they needed to move quickly. On June 30th, 2022, plaintiff Doe flew to London for the first stop on defendant Woods' European Festival Tour circuit. Throughout the summer of 2022, plaintiff Doe began to pay out of pocket, oh no, for the necessities needed to perform her job, such as Wi-Fi on her various flights throughout Europe and the United States, and for other basic incidental costs incurred during travel, including costs for meals and transportation. Okay. So you paid for your Wi-Fi, which is it ain't that expensive if you're on flights. It's kind of cheap, but if you're constantly on flights, that adds up. Meals, I would think meals should be covered. Travel, I would love to know what indicates travel or transportation. Is that like Ubers, or are you paying for your own plane tickets and shit? Because that would be out of line. Plaintiff Doe also began to work the demanding hours of a tour schedule, working anywhere from 12 to 39 hours straight while on the road. Well, you signed up to be an artist assistant, so you gotta get accustomed to the artist lifestyle at the same time. While working the festival tour circuit, plaintiff Doe was expected to complete a variety of tasks, including but not limited to receiving phone calls and text messages and fielding requests from defendant Woods and various members of his management team and entourage, such as his managers, drivers, security, his girlfriend, and his friends. That's part of the job. I gotta be honest. Buying and delivering food for defendant Woods and his entourage. Yeah, they're gonna send you out on food runs. Packing defendant Wood's bags with his clothes and toiletries for travel, keeping an inventory of the contents of defendant Wood's luggage, and ensuring said luggage was transported to and from each tour location. Also, very standard. I mean, you basically, as a personal assistant to an artist, especially, you give up your personal life and you signed it off for 50K a year. That's pretty low. I ain't gonna lie. Anyway, packing and carrying at all times a bag with defendant Wood's essential business and personal effects, whatever that means. Keeping track of defendant Wood's schedule and ensuring that he was dressed and ready to make his various appointments. Again, standard. Ensuring that defendant Woods had at least one bottle of Casamigos tequila and nicotine vape pens available at all times during his parole. Parole? Huh? And ensuring, whoa, ensuring that defendant Woods had marijuana. Oh no, not on parole. Rolling papers and tobacco available at all times when he was legally allowed to smoke marijuana again. Okay. Afterwards. Okay. During July of 2022, Plaintiff Doe began to compare her working hours with her promised 50K salary. Okay, so she within that first year, she said, "Damn, you underpaying me." Yeah, this ain't like working at Balenciaga. When Plaintiff Doe realized that her salary did not match the hours she actually spent working, she contacted Miss Diop with a request for additional compensation and questions regarding reimbursement for her growing business expenses. Plaintiff Doe was shut down by Miss Diop, who stated that she was only entitled to her 50K in salary. Now, this is a fucked up piece right here, right? And I say fucked up because I don't think she understood what she was signing up to do, right? She was a personal assistant to the VIP sales rep at Balenciaga, right? So she was probably doing food runs and, picking up packages, mail runs, coffee runs, you know, probably still had days off, probably had a somewhat standard schedule Monday through whatever, you know what I mean? I don't even know the store hours of a Balenciaga. So to be thrust from kind of a cushy job to now being a full-time assistant for one of the biggest artists in the music industry, Lil Uzi Vert is not small potatoes. I don't even like Uzi Vert. I don't listen to Uzi Vert. Never been a fan of this nigga, but to act like he's not a big artist would be a clear lie. 50,000 just off the dribble was a low ball, and she didn't know her worth. She didn't know what she was coming into. And the problem with that is because I'm quite sure she had to sign a contract. She was being paid directly through his LLC. So I'm quite sure that she was contracted to do this job with her John Hancock on it, which says this is this is your duties and this is your compensation for said duties. But she didn't have clearly somebody in her corner to review this and say, hey, ain't no way you could do all of this for $50,000 a year. Right? So she then contacted Miss Diop. I think that's his day-to-day manager. And they say, hey, you agreed to 50,000. What more are we supposed to do? Okay? So within months of her starting this job, she was already disgruntled about the pay, but somehow she lasted for an additional 2 years. Similarly, when Plaintiff Doe asked to see a breakdown of her direct deposit history, Ms. Diop denied that request. To this day, Plaintiff Doe was not fully reimbursed for business expenses or fully compensated in line with her salary of $50,000 while employed by defendant Uzi Vert. So are you saying that they didn't even pay you the full 50? Or did you need more because of the reimbursements? Which they should have also given you. If you're coming out of pocket for things, there should have been an an agreed upon amount for reimbursements or something of that magnitude. But we'll continue. After the 2022 music festival season ended in September, Plaintiff Doe was sent home abruptly and was not called back to work until January 2023. So they employed you for the festival season, which I don't see an indication of exactly when that ended, but okay, in September. Sorry. So you started working for him in, what was that, June, July? You worked through the summer, and they didn't need you back until January 2023. But did you still make 50,000 that year? You only worked a few months. 2023. Let's see what. Okay, so 2023, defendant Woods begins to sexually harass plaintiff Doe. Okay, so year 2 is when he started getting a little bit more comfortable in a negative way. On February 6, 2023, Plaintiff Doe received a phone call from Mike Brinkley, Senior VP of Artist Management at defendant Roc Nation. Mr. Brinkley invited Plaintiff Doe to meet that afternoon at the Roc Nation LLC office, where he offered Plaintiff Doe a salary of $75,000 for Plaintiff Doe to work as defendant Woods' assistant through Roc Nation on his management team with a title of Artist Management Coordinator, Personal Assistant. Okay, so this is actually quite different than the Emilio Cucci situation, or Emilio Garcia, excuse me, and Megan Thee Stallion, because she is alleging, and we will have to see if there's official paperwork to back up her claim, but she's claiming that Roc Nation Senior VP brought her to the office and employed her through Roc Nation to be his assistant, and she was given the title Artist Management Coordinator / Personal Assistant, and they gave her a $25,000 raise, now at the rate of $75K. So now, once you become part of the Roc Nation team, I can understand why they are also a defendant on this lawsuit. Okay? Which is very different from the Emilio situation. Let's continue. On February 17, 2023, Mr. Brinkley called Plaintiff Doe and asked if she would be willing to relocate to New York. Okay, so now we get a full request for a relocation, which should also entail additional money. Mr. Brinkley indicated that Roc Nation LLC would fly Plaintiff Doe out to New York City to meet with Desiree Perez, CEO at Roc Nation. Okay, once again, very different. Emilio never actually had contact with Desiree, other than emails time to time, as she would be the final deciding voice on Plaintiff Doe's employment with the company. On February 23rd, 2023, Plaintiff Doe met with Desiree Perez in New York. Ms. Perez met Plaintiff Doe's request for a salary of $100K. Okay, so February 17th, they offered her 75. Wait. No. Top of February 6th, they offered her $75K. February 17th, they asked you to relocate. February 23rd, Ms. Desiree Perez offered $100K. All right. So now they're asking to double the salary, which that's what you should have been getting paid from the jump. Okay. And offered Plaintiff Doe a relocation fee of $5,000 while explicitly stating that this compensation was to start. Okay. So for the fact that you got to move cross country from California to New York, I'm going to hit you off with 5 racks. On this same date, defendant Woods texted Plaintiff Doe and asked her to stay the night with him at his hotel room. This nigga tripping already. If this happened, you tripping, nigga. Despite Plaintiff Doe stating that she did not feel comfortable with defendant Woods' request, he continued to pester her, sending her dozens of messages in an effort to convince her to sleep in his hotel room. Okay. So I'm guessing that was after she signed on to the contract. So after she was roped in, I won't even say roped in, because Roc Nation is trying to handle business. But on his end, it's like, all right, come to my hotel. Let's make this official. That's disgusting if this happened. Okay? She let him know she's not comfortable. He continued to try to be persuasive. Defendant Wood's text messages include the following text: "Can you stay with me today? I'm gonna go to a hotel just to sleep later though. I will be nice." Off rip, that don't even sound right. "Can you stay with me today? I'm gonna go to a hotel just to sleep later though. I will be nice." What you mean I will be nice? Just want to sleep? I don't like sleeping by myself. Well, get somebody else to do it. That's what Michael Jackson said. Where your girl at, homie? He says, "I won't touch you. We are literally not going to do shit, girl. I can control myself." Which is all telltale signs that this nigga bugging. Despite defendant Wood's efforts to convince her to stay the night with him, plaintiff Doe stood firm and told him that she would not do so. Now, I don't have access to the full docket to see if she perhaps uploaded exhibits of these text messages from her phone. I'll have to hold out for more information to see if I can access this full thing. This began a 2-year cycle in which plaintiff Doe attempted to artfully and professionally decline defendant Wood's countless sexual advances. Each time plaintiff Doe rejected defendant Wood, she became fearful that she would lose out on opportunities for career advancement or that she would lose what little access she had to defendant Woods. And I don't even think that you really wanted access to him. You wanted access to the industry. You know, you're now allegedly becoming a Rock Nation employee. You making 100 racks. They done moved you to New York. You want to stay. You want to stay in your position. It's not really about Uzi, I wouldn't think. During these 2 years, plaintiff Doe was also happily involved in committed romantic relationships. Plaintiff Doe feared that she had to keep defendant Wood's flirtation and solicitation secret in order to keep her job and avoid personal and professional turmoil, which makes a lot of sense. During this time, plaintiff Doe experienced increased stress that defendant Wood's unwelcome actions will be taken out of context and cause harm to her personal relationships. Some of the sexually inappropriate and unwelcome text messages defendant Wood sent plaintiff Doe include the following. This is August 6, 2023. "I sent you something on Vanish with an angel halo and a wink licky face. Send me something while I'm by myself on Vanish." So he then asked her to send something on Vanish as well, which clearly this is of a sexual nature. We've got another. "Dude, I won't tell a soul, and I don't be having anything. That's why I vanish mode." What you mean you don't be having anything? So he's saying we could keep it on a low ski. August 22nd, 2023, FaceTime me before I got to do my call. So now he's making a FaceTime request, but he's still sending the winky licky face. September 6th, which is terrible. Your personal assistant, that's somebody that could really fuck you up. Cause she's making sure your weed and all of your stuff is around. She could easily lace your ass up like a pair of new tennis shoes. But niggas be so dumb and led by their dick. September 6, 2023. "Come rub me down before you leave." Are you crazy? November 15th, 2023. "I'm by myself right now. Send me something." So he's by himself and he wants to jerk his chicken. And these are, remember, JT is in the picture, but not in the picture. During the spring of 2023, plaintiff Doe worked between Los Angeles and New York, continuing to perform around-the-clock duties associated with working as defendant Wood's artist manager, coordinator, personal assistant. During the summer of 2023, plaintiff Doe gained the additional responsibility of overseeing defendant Wood's move from an apartment to a penthouse in New York City. Once the move was completed, she began managing his penthouse, ensuring that it was clean, fully stocked with groceries and other necessities, and ready for defendant Woods or his entourage at a moment's notice. Okay? So now she's making sure that his apartment, his penthouse, is, he moved from an apartment to a penthouse, excuse me. And she's making sure that the penthouse is fully decked out at all times. During this time, plaintiff Doe also continued to work 12 to 20-hour days when defendant Woods had a concert or other tour-related performance. Despite her continued requests, defendants failed to provide Plaintiff Doe a per diem, leaving her to pay out of pocket for business travel related expenses while working the tour schedule. So that 100K automatically comes down because she's paying for her own travel. And again, allegedly not being reimbursed. Similar to her treatment in 2022, Plaintiff Doe did not receive overtime compensation or proper reimbursement for business expenses such as food and transportation in 2023. These costs were compounded by the fact that Plaintiff Doe accompanied Defendant Woods during his nationwide tour, the Pink Tape Tour, from October to December of 2023. Now, I'm not a legal professional. I don't know what the ramifications of what a personal assistant schedule is supposed to look like, because a lot of times they are on call quite a bit. I mean, y'all remember the Diddy trial and his assistants and how they was always coming in as a fucking cleanup crew, literally and figuratively, for shit he had going on. You know what I mean? So I don't know how that works or how overtime is deduced. You know what I mean? Because a standard job is 40 hours. Anything above that is overtime pay. But is that the same in this particular field? I don't know. In December of 2023, Defendant Wood's girlfriend, Jatavia Johnson, that is JT, fired her assistant and obtained permission from him to use Plaintiff Doe as her assistant. Oh, fuck no. I work for Uzi, and I'm already having a hard enough time working for his ass. How you just gonna sign me up to work for JT? Y'all finna double my motherfucking pay for that? Huh? And how the fuck Rock Nation sign off on that? Huh? During the remainder of the month, Plaintiff Doe worked for both Defendant Woods and Miss Johnson. So you gotta work for JT while this nigga out here soliciting, trying to get you to sleep with him, and now you working for his girl. Ain't no fucking way. Plaintiff Doe was never compensated for her additional responsibilities as Miss Johnson's assistant. And JT, you ought to be motherfucking ashamed of yourself having this girl working for you and you ain't putting no motherfucking money on up. But you out here talking about somebody else's boyfriend and what they got the fuck going on. What about what the fuck you got going on? 2024. Plaintiff Doe begins therapy and struggles with burnout. I bet. In January of 2024, Plaintiff Doe, encouraged by her partner, began therapy due to the stress and emotional distress she experienced due to Defendant Woods' harassment. Plaintiff Doe began going to therapy on a regular basis. Okay, so she is now beginning therapy while on the job because of the workload. And I must say that was a very smart move. I'm glad your partner said that, because even if it wasn't, we're setting up a paper trail, because this is not normal. In February of 2024, the company debit cards provided to make purchases for Defendant Woods ran dry. Come on, Rock. Come on, dog. Y'all. Debit card? What you mean debit card, bitch? It need to be a motherfucking credit card. It be a better work every time I use it. Are you crazy? Plaintiff Doe was directed to pay out of pocket for food, clothes, and alcohol. Ain't no fucking way. For this nigga? Who said I was his stylist? Why the fuck would I be bringing clothes? Alcohol? Clothes? Food? Clothes? Huh? For him and the entourage? Are you stupid? When Plaintiff Doe contacted Defendant Woods' manager Amina Diop and Mike Brinkley of Rock Nation LLC with requests for reimbursement for her business expenses or a standard per diem, she was told she was only entitled to her salary. Well, then you only entitled to the bare fucking minimum. To this date, Rock Nation LLC, Defendant Woods, and Uzi Vert LLC have failed to fully reimburse Plaintiff Doe for her business expenses. Fuck. During the majority of the month of February, Plaintiff Doe worked in Los Angeles, working long nights at the studio while Defendant Woods began work on his next album. Plaintiff Doe would accompany Defendant Woods to the studio each day, often working 10 hours a day, ensuring that Defendant Woods and his entourage receive food 3 times a day. Okay. So you making food runs and shit like that. 10-hour days, that's not out of the ordinary. transportation, and other necessities to ensure that they were comfortable while making music. During this time period, defendants continued to fail to provide Plaintiff Doe with overtime compensation of a proper reimbursement for business expenses, or a proper reimbursement, excuse me. In March of 2024, Plaintiff Doe returned to New York City and began to experience intense burnout while continuing to work 10 hours a day on average. In April of 2024, after 2 years and 2 months of harassment, employment law violations, and abuse, Plaintiff Doe returned home to Los Angeles unable to handle the hostile work environment created by defendants. Okay. 2024, Defendant Woods' drug-fueled retaliation begins. Oh, shit. Plaintiff Doe returned to work as Defendant Woods' artist management coordinator in May of 2024. When Plaintiff Doe returned, she faced retaliation from Defendant Woods himself along with his management team. Upon her return to New York City on May 16, 2024, Plaintiff Doe was denied use of the company debit card and other resources needed to perform her job. Defendant Woods' drivers, in particular, began to exhibit resentment towards Plaintiff Doe because they felt they had to absorb Plaintiff Doe's job duties when they, similarly to Plaintiff Doe, were continuously not paid the full amounts they were owed. Okay, so now the drivers are mad at her because they're being asked to do some of the same shit, and they feel like, get your assistant to do it. She been doing it. So now everybody is feeling a way towards her when it's not actually her fault. And this is all alleged. We just got to go with the storyline as it stands. During this time, Defendant Woods continued his pattern of sexual harassment, calling Plaintiff Doe by the name of Big Butt. Ain't no fucking way. So now the nickname he's calling you is Big Butt, which is sexual harassment any and every time he said it. And mentioning that she had a fat ass, quote unquote. In one text message from Defendant Woods on June 20th, 2023, Defendant Woods stated, "Let me see that booty." As the year progressed, Defendant Woods continued to retaliate against Plaintiff Doe by harassing her verbally. When Defendant Woods was high on drugs, and remember, Woods is Uzi, such as Xanax and Oxycontin, he would often subject Plaintiff Doe to an endless barrage of hostile and abusive text messages. And he does have a history of abuse. Defendant Woods' endless messages would leave Plaintiff Doe wondering whether she was being terminated or whether Defendant Woods was just upset. Okay? So he's getting high off the shits, and he's sending allegedly abusive text messages, and I guess threatening her job, because she said she's wondering whether she was being terminated or not, or if he was just mad. So he's holding the job over her head. During one such text exchange in July of 24, Defendant Woods became angry that a member of his entourage was not provided a hotel room. While under the influence, Defendant Woods texted Plaintiff Doe the following. So he said, "Stop being so fucking soft." This is a woman, by the way, he's talking to. "This is me to you. No black rapper would be able to tell a white girl, stop being soft. Well, I am today. No black rapper will be able to tell a white girl, stop being soft. Well, today I am." Damn, it sound like you talking to yourself, nigga. No black rapper. She's white. We don't know who she is, or I don't. Let me say I don't know who she is. She's a Jane Doe. So her identity has not been disclosed. "Well, today I am. Stop being soft. I don't care if you mad, sad, cry, whatever. You a girl. You supposed to." When Plaintiff Doe apologized for the oversight, Defendant Woods responded, "You are more than my assistant. You are my bitch." So he is coming down on her extremely hard because one of his entourage members didn't receive a hotel room. And I guess when he lashed out at her, she cried. So he said, "Stop being so fucking soft. You need to toughen up and let me talk to you however you want, because you're more than my assistant. You are my bitch," as he allegedly claimed, which is also code for "you are my property." During another text exchange in October of 2024, defendant Woods became angry when plaintiff Doe failed to organize all his white clothes in one closet. Jeez. While under the influence, defendant Woods sent plaintiff Doe over a dozen messages before he finally stated, "You're not even on drugs like I am. I don't understand you mental over being successful." What? You are basically saying, fuck what he say. Like I'm just a pushover. Are you speaking about yourself in third person? But I'm not upset. Life only gets better. I'm not trying to be in a bad mood. Everybody counts me out. Who the fuck? Like, I'm really not a star. I feel that shit. But I have somebody doing it today. Just a little upset, honestly. When Plaintiff Doe responded to defendant text and asked where they go from here, he responded, "I'm just mad, it's cool." So he's venting on her like a punching bag. And then he gives her the disclaimer, "I'm just mad, it's cool. I ain't really worried about it, but I want to talk to you any fucking way I feel like it when I get angry." Defendant Wood's sexual and verbal harassment of Plaintiff Doe continued throughout the year. 2025, Plaintiff Doe suffers constructive discharge. At some point, I would have had to goddamn terminate the contract. Hey, I can't do this shit no more. What's my window of terminating this fucking agreement? It was only in February of 2025 that Plaintiff Doe was once again provided a company debit card with funds in order to adequately perform her job duties. So this is even this year. Throughout the winter and spring of 2025, Plaintiff Doe continued to work 7 days a week from 8 in the morning to midnight. Shit. 8 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. In March of 2025, Plaintiff Doe spoke with Mike Brinkley and explained that she would like a performance review and a change in compensation in line with what Ms. Perez promised 2 years prior. What you mean? So they offered you $100K and didn't actually pay it to you? Or was there supposed to be some upgrades to that? From March 25th, 2025 to April 15th, 2025, Mr. Brinkley failed to provide Plaintiff Doe with an opportunity to discuss her requested performance review or change in compensation. Okay, so that's a couple weeks. When Plaintiff Doe would inquire as to when they could schedule a time to meet, he continued to postpone the conversation. In late April of 2025, after 3 years and 2 months of abuse, harassment, and mistreatment, Plaintiff Doe could no longer tolerate her working conditions and felt compelled to resign. Okay? So 3 years. And it was already fucked up from the jump ski. So I would have had to go. Days later, Ms. Johnson called Plaintiff Doe and proceeded to insult her and badmouth her over the telephone. Administrative remedies. On August 8th, 2025, plaintiff filed a claim with the California Civil Rights Department. Hey, you covering your tracks, you're doing your job. For sexual harassment and retaliation. On August 12th, 2025, the California CRD provided plaintiff with a notice of case closure and right to sue. So she contacted the Civil Rights Department. They said, "Hey, we see that you have a case here. You should proceed." So, hey, when you go through the proper channels, I can't be mad at this. First claim for relief: workplace sexual harassment prohibited under California's Fair Employment and Housing Act. Plaintiff Doe realleges and incorporates herein by reference each and every allegation set forth above at all times herein. Plaintiff Doe, while first employed by Uzi Vert LLC and then Rock Nation LLC, worked as Defendant Woods' assistant or artist management coordinator and reported directly to Defendant Woods himself in order to carry out her job duties and responsibilities. Plaintiff Doe was subjected to harassing conduct because she was a white woman. Whoa. Now, I don't know about that one. I don't think it was because you was white. I think it's because the nigga trash. But perhaps he felt like it was easier to subject that conduct to you because you're white, which, hey, maybe you're correct. Defendant Woods subjected Plaintiff Doe to unwelcome sexual demands and advances and verbal harassment. That harassing conduct, and I must say, in a situation where you're around a bunch of black folks at all times, as the one white person in the room, you could be subjected to adverse behavior. I gotta be honest. Some people will make it their business to intimidate the white person in the room and treat them like shit. It does happen. I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm definitely not one to be like, oh, the big black mean black guys. But there are instances in which that shit does happen in real life, and we gotta acknowledge that too. That harassing conduct was continuous throughout the last 2 years of Plaintiff Doe's employment with Defendant Woods. Defendant Woods' harassing conduct was so severe and pervasive that a reasonable person in Plaintiff Doe's circumstances would have considered the work environment to be hostile, intimidating, offensive, oppressive, or abusive. Defendant Woods' harassing conduct made it increasingly difficult for Plaintiff Doe to perform her job duties and responsibilities. Plaintiff Doe never knew when Defendant Woods would engage in appropriate sexual behavior. This caused Plaintiff Doe to fear her everyday interactions with Defendant Woods. Each time Plaintiff Doe rejected Defendant Woods, she became fearful that she would lose out on opportunities for career advancement or that she would be subject to retaliation from Defendant Woods, leaving her unable to perform her job duties. Plaintiff Doe feared that she had to keep Defendant Woods' flirtation and solicitation secret in order to keep her job and avoid personal and professional turmoil. During this time, Plaintiff Doe experienced increased stress that Defendant Woods' unwelcome actions would be taken out of context and cause harm to her personal romantic relationships. As a result of Defendant Woods' harassment, Plaintiff Doe is entitled to compensatory damages. Plaintiff Doe has suffered and continues to suffer emotional distress and mental anguish, for which she has sought out the treatment of licensed mental health professionals. In doing the acts herein alleged, Defendant Woods acted despicably and with oppression, fraud, malice, and in conscious disregard of Plaintiff Doe's rights, and is therefore liable for exemplary and punitive damages in an amount according to proof at trial. She said according to proof at trial. She got receipts. That would it sound like to me. Second claim for relief. Failure to pay overtime compensation. All right. She was working long, crazy hours, and she was never reimbursed or given overtime pay. Plaintiff Doe realleges and incorporates herein by reference each and every allegation set forth above. California Labor Code 500 defines work day and day to mean any consecutive 24-hour period commencing at the same time each calendar day, and defines work week and week to mean any 7 consecutive days starting with the same calendar each day each week. Labor Code 510 codifies the right to overtime compensation at 1 1/2 times the regular hourly rate of pay for hours worked in excess of 8 hours in a day or 40 hours in a week, or for the first 8 hours worked on the 7th day of work, and to overtime compensation at twice the regular hourly rate for hours worked in excess of 12 hours in a day or in excess of 8 hours in a day on the 7th day. Okay, so she's pulling out the labor code saying, hey, y'all overworked me against the law. I'm here to collect. During the relevant time period, Plaintiff Doe worked in excess of 8 hours in a day, in excess of 12 hours in a day, and in excess of 40 hours in a week, for which Plaintiff Doe should have been compensated at an overtime rate. Now, the question is, are you going to be able to provide proof of those days? We'll have to see. Were you keeping a timesheet? Defendant's failure to pay Plaintiff Doe this overtime compensation as required by California law violates the provisions of Labor Code 510 and 1198 and is therefore unlawful. Pursuant to Labor Code 1194, Plaintiff Doe is entitled to recover unpaid overtime compensation as well as interest, costs, and attorney fees. Third claim for relief. Failure to properly reimburse business expenses. Plaintiff Doe realleges and incorporates herein by reference each and every allegation set forth above. While Plaintiff Doe was working for defendants and acting on the direct instruction of defendants in discharging Plaintiff Doe's duties for defendants, Plaintiff Doe incurred out-of-pocket business expenses related to travel for work when Plaintiff Doe was required to work at various locations throughout the United States, Europe, Asia, and Australia in order to fulfill her responsibilities as Defendant Woods' assistant and artist management coordinator. Defendants have failed to indemnify or in any manner reimburse Plaintiff Doe for these expenditures and losses, and thereby violated Labor Code 2802A, which provides that an employer shall indemnify his or her employee for all necessary expenditures or losses incurred by the employee in direct consequence of the discharge of his or her duties or of his or her obedience to the directions of the employer. And hopefully she would have proof of these interactions in which she was asking for this reimbursement. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's conduct, Plaintiff Doe suffered substantial losses according to proof, as well as prejudgment interest, costs, and attorney fees for the prosecution of this action. Fourth claim for relief, violation of California Labor Code 970. California Labor Code 970 provides that no person or agent or officer thereof directly or indirectly shall influence, persuade, or engage any person to change from one place to another in this state, or from any place outside to any place within the state, or from any place within the state to any place outside for the purpose of working in any branch of labor through or by means of knowingly false representations, whether spoken, written, or advertised in printed form, concerning the length of time such work will last or the compensation thereafter. During Roc Nation's hiring process, Desiree Perez promised Plaintiff Doe periodic performance reviews and opportunities to improve her compensation structure as her time with Roc Nation LLC as Defendant Wood's artist management coordinator progressed. I will hope you have a contract that reflects that promise from Desiree Perez. Roc Nation LLC's representation was knowingly false, as Plaintiff Doe was never provided with an opportunity for a performance review. Despite her multiple requests to Mike Brinkley to coordinate a time for a performance review, Plaintiff Doe was constantly denied such an opportunity from Mr. Brinkley, who purposefully evaded her requests and avoided getting back to her. I would hope you have proof of those interactions as well. Plaintiff Doe reasonably relied on Ms. Perez's representations in changing her residence from Los Angeles to New York City for the purpose of working for defendants. As a result of Ms. Perez's knowing misrepresentations, Plaintiff Doe is entitled to compensatory damages and penalties, as well as attorney's fees and costs pursuant to Labor Code 218.5. Woo! Fifth claim, constructive discharge. While employed as Defendant Wood's assistant and artist management coordinator, Plaintiff Doe suffered unwelcome sexual advances, verbal harassment, unpaid overtime compensation, and a lack of reimbursement of business expenses, all while working the grueling hours associated with tour and recording studio schedules. Plaintiff Doe was also required to perform work as Defendant Wood's girlfriend assistant, despite never receiving compensation for the added responsibility, which I still can't get over, that JT even took this girl on without paying. You thought she was being paid for the both of yous? After 3 years and 2 months of abuse, harassment, and mistreatment, Plaintiff Doe could no longer tolerate her working conditions and felt compelled to resign. As a direct and proximate result of Plaintiff Doe's constructive termination, Plaintiff Doe has suffered and will continue to suffer extreme and severe mental anguish and emotional distress and incur medical expenses for treatment by health professionals and for other incidental purposes. Plaintiff Doe is thereby entitled to general and compensatory damages. Plaintiff Doe alleges that the defendant's conduct described above was done with malice, fraud, oppression, and with conscious disregard for Plaintiff Doe's rights, and with the intent, design, and purpose of injuring Plaintiff Doe. By reason thereof, Plaintiff Doe is entitled to punitive or exemplary damages from the defendants in sum according to proof at trial. And they keep saying according to proof. So again, it seems that she has more than enough receipts. But I can't say. I can only go off of what's being stated. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff plays for relief against defendants as follows: for general and compensatory damages according to proof, for special damages according to proof, for reasonable attorney's fees and costs, for prejudgment interest according to statute, for punitive award against defendants for costs of suit according to statute, and for any other relief that is just and proper. Okay, this was originally filed October 20th, and it's now making the headlines. Okay. Now, I must reiterate, it is my responsibility to say that all of this is alleged. You know, I don't know what happened. I was not there. I was not an employee for Lil Uzi Vert nor Roc Nation. So we'll just have to see how this thing plays out. But hey, man, if Uzi Vert did that shit, pay the fuck up. And that would be Uzi and Roc Nation. If y'all employed her the way that she said, and she has contracts that reflect that, pay up. Ain't that what Rhapsody said? One of y'all artists? Pay up. But again, that's if all of this can be proven in a court of law. Okay? Now, JT, what's up, sister? You was just out here trying to do justice for gay men and go up for Chris Blake Griffin and, reiterate allegations on Stephon Diggs. Where you at? Why you off social media? Why you not taking part in the conversation? Ain't we holding people accountable? Okay. Let me know what y'all think of all this down below. And Uzi, what the fuck is all of this, bruh? If this shit is proven, you deserve to be canceled. But again, that's if. You already should have been canceled for the domestic violence shit, but that's above my pay grade. I can't do it. Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider. I will catch y'all on the next one. Damn, I went through this whole video without my shit. That's crazy. I'll see y'all later though. Peace.
Over fame in this bitch, yeah. The glory of living righteous is setting in. My street knowledge and education's a perfect blend. Young mogul, independent, I've been setting trends. The first one from my family to be faithfully wed. Fuck niggas and the horses that they riding on. I see this shit from all angles like a polygon. I'm never politicking, the drama be piling on. Father and great son acknowledged like I'm Bobby Bonds. Conversation with my lady about the paper route. 5 sit bank accounts, every day I make it count. They down talking my commentary for hating now. Well, I can take it cause I'm bodying your favorite now, please. I can do this shit in my sleep. I been writing for these niggas, y'all read it and weep. I been fighting these niggas if you speak on the street. I turn your birthday party into New Year's Eve. Don't let me take it there. We ain't playing fair. This the ATL, Southside nigga moving furniture like Wayfair. Life on hold, no insurance for your healthcare. Lifeline gone, so you wanna be a millionaire? Well, let me tell you about this world I built. The women I dodged, the niggas that I read for filth. The sympathy cause consulting for the stacks I built. I had